Virginia and a near upset in New Jersey, why the two Democratic strongholds show signs of flipping red.
COVID shots for kids, where you can get them. We'll be live at a vaccine center.
Gas prices draining your wallet? We'll show you where to get the cheapest gas in the OC. All that and more on this episode of Chapman News.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News.
4, 3, 2.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's episode of Chapman News. I'm Danielle Burke-North.
And I'm Promise Johnson. We begin today with a bad week for Democrats with traditional blue strongholds voting red. But first, some breaking news. A senior Democratic aide told USA Today that the House may vote on both pieces of President Biden's legislative agenda today, the $1 trillion infrastructure bill and the multi-trillion-dollar social services package.
There is good news for President Biden as the unemployment rate falls to 4.6%. Also, a new job report shows a job growth rebound with over 531,000 jobs created. Earlier in the week, Democrats took a hard hit in two key states, losing the governor's office in Virginia and barely hanging on to it in New Jersey. Many are saying this is a reflection on how the Biden administration is doing. Our political correspondent, Jack Cole, has more.
Thanks, Danielle. We've got a major shakeup this week in politics. Not only did the New Jersey governor election go from an expected landslide to a tight race, but the reliably Democratic state of Virginia elected Republican outsider Glenn Youngkin as their governor over Democratic candidate Terry McAuliffe. This happened after a campaign where Youngkin stressed local issues in his bid to make the state red for the first time since 2009.
On day one, we're going to work. We're going to embrace our parents, not ignore them. We're going to comprehensively fund law enforcement because they stand up for us, and we are going to stand up for them.
But the Republican wins in Virginia and around the country involved people not even on the ballot, like President Joe Biden with his record low approval ratings. Clearly, voters are worried about what's happening or not happening in Washington, constant bickering over Biden's agenda with no agreement. A warning from Van Jones, political pundit for CNN.
This is a big deal. These numbers are bad. This is not some. These are our voters. These are voters that came to us in 2018, came to us in 2020, and have abandoned us in droves in two states that should be in our column. That's a big deal. That is a 5-alarm fire.
Joining us today is Dr. Lori Hahn. Lori, thanks for joining us today.
Sure, no problem.
So Democrats have spent the whole entire week wringing their hands over Tuesday's election. Was it as bad as it seems for them?
Well, it wasn't good to lose a state where Biden won just a year ago by 10 points over Trump. But it's not necessarily all doom and gloom for Democrats moving forward. A lot can happen between now and next November for the midterms. And I think one of the things that they have to be aware of is not only the policies that they're promoting and the messaging that goes with it, but also candidate selection. Terry McAuliffe was not the strongest candidates that Democrats could have had in this particular political environment. And I think that's part of the reason why he lost.
Kind of going off of that, we mentioned earlier, Youngkin talked about bread and butter issues such as investing in education and law enforcement. Do you think that talking points like these were a key reason that Youngkin won in a traditionally blue state?
Definitely. And, suburban voters are very important right now. It's one of the most important demographics when you're looking at, who's going to win an election. And those kinds of issues, especially in the middle of this pandemic, really resonate. And a lot of people in states are looking at governors being in charge of COVID-related policies. So that definitely helped him to turn out voters and to be able to win this election.
Do you think that some of this was misdirected anger at Joe Biden and the failure of a Democratic administration to accomplish real change on Capitol Hill?
Partly, but I would suggest that not everyone should, jump on that bandwagon in terms of blaming Biden. Look, when things are going bad in the country, we always tend to blame the president. And right now, with this pandemic and the continuing frustrations over that and the way it's starting to affect the economy, sure. I mean, a lot of people are saying in public opinion polls right now that they aren't satisfied with the job that Biden is doing, and they're not happy with the direction of the country. So that certainly played into a political outsider like Youngkin being able to win in Virginia, but that simplifies it a little bit. There's still a lot more to this, and certainly a lot more going forward that the Democrats need to pay attention to.
And then what does this say about next year's midterms in 2024?
What I think it says about the midterms is that Democrats need to pay attention to this result and very close result up in New Jersey, and to maybe think about what they want to get done, and to certainly think about their messaging and to articulate to voters what they are about. They have to be about something other than a $3.5 trillion package that they can't really sell on the specifics. And they can't just be about, hey, we're not Donald Trump. They have to have a clear message, and they have to get something done to show to voters that why voters should trust them to be in power.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For Chapman News, I'm Jack Cole. Back to you at the desk.
Meanwhile, Texas is facing court battles on a number of issues. The Justice Department is filing a lawsuit against the state over voting restrictions passed earlier this year. The government says the laws which bans drive-through voting and makes mail-in voting more difficult will disenfranchise eligible voters. What's more, the Supreme Court this week heard arguments about the controversial Texas abortion law, which allows private citizens to sue abortion providers. And conservative judges like Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett seem like they could be changing their position. Kavanaugh pointed out that the ruling could set a precedent for another state to use the same law to regulate other controversial matters like gun control. The court will likely issue a ruling on the abortion law this month.
In Los Angeles, proof of COVID vaccinations are now required to enter LA County bars, nightclubs, and other venues. Businesses will have to make sure that customers age 12 and older have been fully vaccinated at least 14 days before trying to enter the venue. At bars and other indoor venues, a negative coronavirus test result is not considered an alternative to providing proof of COVID-19 vaccination. However, officials say customers who are not vaccinated can use outdoor areas of the business.
Also on the COVID front, the death toll worldwide has crossed 5,750,000 nationally.
However, there is a glimmer of hope as young children are finally getting their shots. Shomblin Fairley is live at Families Together of OC, where she's witnessing some of the first kids getting their vaccine. Shombi?
Yes, I am here outside of a COVID clinic with Families Together at OC. I just spoke to a 6-year-old boy who got his first dose of Pfizer this morning.
So, Shambi, a lot of people are saying that COVID is mild for most kids. Do they really need to be vaccinated?
So it is true that kids with COVID do have pretty much mild symptoms for the most part and are very rarely at risk of death for COVID. However, it is important to get them vaccinated because it will help stop the spread to people who are prone to illness.
While COVID may not be as harmful to most kids as many adults, aren't they still carriers that can pass on the disease?
That is correct. Health officials still are encouraging parents to get their kids vaccinated because they still can spread the virus to people who are at high risk of getting it. And so by getting them vaccinated, you can help lower the risk and the rate of hospitalizations.
Thank you, Shambi. It's good to hear people are out there getting their children vaccinated. The White House is implementing a new vaccine mandate for businesses with over 100 employees. The mandate requires employers to implement a vaccination mandate or a weekly testing program. The deadline to do so in January 4th. Businesses that do not comply face a $14,000 fine per worker.
Administration clearly has the authority to protect workers, and actions announced by the president are designed to save lives and stop spread of COVID.
President Biden on climate change, and I'll have the 7-day forecast.
Oh, well, thank you. Our children and families want us to be healthy. That's why I and lots of other grown-ups got the COVID-19 vaccine, so we can stay healthy and get back to the moments we miss, like seeing our friends and family.
There you go, Daddy. For a healthy checkup, a sticker.
Oh, thanks, son.
With free COVID-19 vaccines, sunnier days are ahead. Visit getvaccineanswers.org.
Judge has ruled that Mary's Kitchens can remain open for 6 more months. That means the earliest city officials in Orange could evict the kitchen is May of next year. The city wants to close Mary's Kitchen and says it will provide other services for the homeless. But the judge ruled the city's plans are not adequate to serve those in need of shelter and other services, especially in the colder months.
Gas prices draining your wallet? We'll show you where to get the cheapest gas in the OC.
Kinsley Rolfe is here to tell us more.
You are not imagining things. Gas prices are at an all-time high, with an average of $4.62 per gallon as of yesterday. That's the highest in Orange County since October of 2012. Jeffrey Spring from AAA describes how this is unusual for this time of year.
This is the time of year, especially now in November, when we would expect prices to be dropping. And they haven't been. They haven't been dropping, they haven't gone down for a long, long time.
California's new average price for gas is 4 cents higher than last week. According to AAA, the average price of self-serve gas in the LA and Long Beach area is $4.59 per gallon. This is 2 cents higher than last week, 17 cents higher than last month, and $1.43 higher than last year. Most of the increase is caused by higher crude oil prices. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, crude oil costs account for a little more than half of the gas pump price. Crude oil prices have been steadily increasing over the years. 1 year ago, a barrel of West Texas crude oil was roughly $35. This past Thursday, it was almost $83. But Jeffrey Spring says crude oil prices are not the only reason why gas is so expensive in California.
And if you want to get in deeper in the weeds, because of what we produce here in California, the certain specific formulation for California gasoline is an expensive gasoline to produce, so that adds to the price as well. And then you add on top of that, we have more taxes on gasoline than any other state in the nation as well. So those 3 things are combining for what's the highest prices in the country really for gasoline here in California.
Experts say Californians should be prepared for even higher gas prices through the end of this year, as it is hinging on the price of oil. Experts say Californians should continue to see these high gas prices through the end of the year. I'm Kinsley Rolfe for Chapman News.
Many are criticizing a billionaire architect's proposal for a windowless megadorm at UC Santa Barbara. The project is set to house 4,500 students and costs $1.5 billion. In its design, the architect says it is set up to build community and encourage peer-to-peer interaction. Not surprisingly, many are opposed to this idea, with the backlash causing one of the lead architects to resign from the design committee. As a current RA, I can attest that we don't have windowless storms.
When I lived in the dorms, I loved looking out my window and seeing the beautiful SoCal weather. In fact, Tiffany Chen will be reporting our 7-day forecast for the week. But before we get to that, she's reporting the latest on the Climate Change Summit. Tiffany?
That climate conference is happening in Scotland. World leaders have gathered, and there's big pressure for them to do something about climate change and the environment.
President Biden says the U.S. is committed to addressing climate change and global warming. He made the comment at COP26, the 26th annual UN Climate Change Summit that began this week. The summit is taking place in Glasgow, Scotland this year. World leaders from more than 100 countries attended the conference in person, but leaders for Russia and China, two of the world's biggest greenhouse gas emitters, are not there. President Biden publicly apologized for the Trump administration's decision to pull the U.S. out of the 2015 Paris Agreement on climate change. Biden says the U.S. will work with other countries to limit global warming to just 1.5 degrees Celsius.
I guess I shouldn't apologize, but I do apologize for the fact the United States, the last administration, pulled out of the Paris Accords and put us sort of behind the eight ball.
Nations attending the summit also want to work together to reduce carbon emissions. It's an ambitious agenda, and many are asking, how will the countries pay for it? For his part, President Biden says the U.S. will contribute $3 billion annually to help poorer countries fight climate change. He says addressing the climate crisis will also boost global economy and create millions of jobs for people globally.
We're standing at an inflection point in world history. We have the ability to invest in ourselves and build an equitable, clean energy future, and in the process, create millions of good-paying jobs and opportunities around the world.
The president also outlined the actions the U.S. will take to fight climate change. The U.S. will work on reducing carbon emissions by 50 to 52% by 2030 and become a net zero emissions economy by 2050. This means replacing the use of coal, oil, and gas with renewable energy. To do so, most people would need to drive electric vehicles and take public transportation. Another goal is to reverse deforestation by 2030. Just yesterday, more than 40 countries signed the Global Coal to Clean Power Transition Statement, an agreement to stop using coal power. But massive coal users like the US, China, and India did not join in. There have been ongoing protests taking place outside the summit as activists in Glasgow protest against greenwashing, when companies claim to be protecting the environment while continuing to harm it.
Inside COP, they're just politicians and people in power pretending to take our future seriously. No more blah, blah, blah. No more blah, blah, blah. No more blah, blah.
The summit continues into next week, and the discussions will continue to focus on the specific actions the countries will take to fight climate change and how they will pay for it. Now on to our 7-day forecast. Right now in Orange, it's 71 degrees and partly cloudy, the perfect weather to go outdoors, enjoy some sun, and enjoy the light breeze. Now let's take a look at our national forecast. Overall, we can see some lovely fall temperatures, and the weather will mostly be cloudy and sunny throughout the week. Up in Seattle on the west coast, it's 49 degrees, cloudy and cold, and down in San Francisco, warming up a little bit at 59 degrees. In Las Vegas, 75 degrees. As always, it's hot and sunny in Sin City. In Denver, it's finally warming up a little at 65 degrees. And now let's take a look at the East Coast. Do not be fooled by the sunshine. Temperatures will mostly range between the 40s and 50s. Up in New York, it's 50 degrees, and in Washington, D.C., 52 degrees, and we'll both see some sunshine while the temperatures will be cold in those areas. It's 49 degrees in Chicago, and also 49 in Atlanta with some heavy wind. Up in Minneapolis, it's 51 degrees, and down in Austin, Texas, 59 degrees. In Miami, it's 76 degrees, and there is a thunderstorm that will last throughout the weekend, so be on the lookout for that. Now on to our local Orange County forecast. It's the hottest right now in Mission Viejo at 75 degrees, but Orange follows closely behind at 71. Both Westminster and Irvine are at 70 degrees, and along the coast, temperatures are getting slightly cooler with Newport Beach and both Newport Beach and Laguna Beach being 66 degrees, and San Clemente being 67 degrees. Now, there is a beach hazard warning lasting until 9 p.m. tonight as the tides are high, so make sure to stay out of the water and refrain from surfing for your own safety. Now, on to our 7-day forecast. It looks like we have a sunny and cloudy week ahead of us. The high today is at 80 degrees, and we can expect the highs to remain in the 70s, with the exception of it being 85 degrees on Thursday. On Saturday, it'll be 75 degrees, 70 degrees on Sunday, 71 on Monday, 72 on Tuesday, and 73 on Wednesday. The low for today is 55 degrees, and we can expect the lows to range from 52 to 56 degrees throughout the week. That's your weather for this week. I'm Tiffany Chen.
The pandemic was hard on many small businesses, bookstores included. Emma Sexton has a story on how the Bookman here in Orange managed to survive.
If you're looking for an example of resilience, you need look no further than the Bookman, a used bookstore in Orange. This past year during the pandemic, many small businesses were forced to close, even if for a short time. The Bookman was no exception.
So for 3 months, I'd come in here and do the internet orders and go home and sit in my house like most people.
But unlike many small businesses, this wasn't the biggest struggle the Bookman has faced in their 20-plus years in Orange County.
When we were going in the early 90s, going strong, there was about 34 used bookstores here in Orange County. A lot of stores dropped off. So there's about 6, 7, 8 stores in Orange County now.
Used and independent bookstores used to thrive all over the country, but that all changed when Amazon launched.
When Amazon first came into business, when I became aware of Amazon, their sole thing that they were advertising, that they were selling was books.
Even today, more than 20 years later, Amazon prevents other bookstores from competing with their low prices by using books as their biggest loss leader. This means that they sell all their books at prices so low that they actually lose revenue, just so that other stores can't compete. Independent bookstores like the Bookman have faced many issues over the past 20 years, including big retailers like Amazon. However, they're right now in a resurgence. Amazon was expected to put indie bookstores out of business in the late 2000s, but instead, the American Bookseller Association has seen a 49% increase in indie booksellers since it bottomed out in 2009. This trend of the resurgence of indie bookstores is helped by Gen Z creators promoting small bookstores on social media and deciding to shop small.
Many people have found us new, and a lot of my old customers have come back to join us, and so we're pretty happy here.
Despite struggles with Amazon and the pandemic, it looks like the Bookman will be in Orange for a long, long time to come. For Chapman News, I'm Emma Sexton.
David Rontaler here, and coming up after the break, the Aaron Rodgers story that is confusing the NFL, broken down on the Best Campus Sports Show.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food, healthcare, and other resources.
211, how can I help you?
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, get connected, get help.
I'm David Rontaler, and welcome back to the Best Campus Sports Show. We have some huge stories in the sports world to report on this week, so let's jump right into it. Big news regarding the Packers and their quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, that could have big ramifications for Rodgers, the team, and the league as a whole. Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers tested positive for COVID and was immediately ruled out of his upcoming game. The only way for him to be ruled out immediately, according to the NFL protocols, is for him to be unvaccinated, something that goes against what he said in August.
Yeah, I've been immunized. You know, there's a lot of conversation around it, around the league, and a lot of guys who have made statements and I've made statements, owners who made statements. You know, there's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated. I think it's a personal decision. I'm not going to judge those guys.
So everyone just assumed, based off this comment, he was vaccinated. Turns out, though, according to ESPN, he tried to get the league to accept homeopathic treatment as vaccination replacement, something the league denied. Packers head coach Matt LaFleur, who would have been much rather celebrating his birthday than done with his anti-vax quarterback, called out Rodgers when asked at a press conference why he claimed to be immunized.
It's a great question for Aaron. I'm not going to comment on it.
What further made the announcement a shock was that Rodgers was not wearing a mask on the sideline of the games or during the in-person press conferences, something only vaccinated players are allowed to do. Combine this with a Halloween party the QB attended this past weekend unmasked with the team, the quarterback could be facing major punishment. On top of all that, the NFL is investigating the Packers further to see what protocols the team may have knowingly broken. If any violations are found beyond Rodgers, the team could be seeing punishment themselves. And brand new this morning, Rodgers released a statement confirming he's unvaccinated. Packers fans, just remember that this upcoming punishment to your team could be due to the quarterback who held your organization hostage all summer for wanting more say in the team. And look where that got you. The same quarterback doing the exact same thing again, but for more selfish reasons this time. Another major sports news, Phoenix Suns majority owner Robert Sarver is in headlines today, accused of being a racist, misogynistic, and creating a toxic work environment. ESPN interviewed nearly 70 former and current Sun employees about Sarver's behavior. Some executives also criticized him, including one of the Suns co-owners who stated the level of misogyny and racism is beyond the pale. It's embarrassing as an owner. However, Suns CEO and President Jason Rowley has released a statement backing Sarver, saying, quote, "This story is completely outrageous and false. It doesn't represent at all the Robert Sarver I worked alongside of for 15 years. He is not a racist and he is not a sexist." The NBA has not issued a statement, but is expected to open an investigation into the situation. Taking a break from all the trouble in professional sports, Chapman volleyball player Sofia Servasova earned a huge honor this week, taking home SIAC Athlete of the Year and becoming the first Chapman volleyball player to do so.
I'm super grateful for Chapman Athletics for giving me this opportunity.
Servasova is just honored to be in this position.
I'm super grateful for Chapman Athletics for giving me this opportunity. Couldn't have done it without my coach, team, everybody supporting me. And I'm really excited for the semifinals tomorrow.
In that semifinal game on Thursday, the volleyball team won and advanced to the championship where they will play against Claremont Mudscripts. And for Chapman football is gearing up for their final home game this Saturday as they take on number 3 team in the conference, Claremont Mudscripts. However, they will be without starting quarterback Johnston McIntyre, who suffered a career-ending ankle injury this past week against Pomona Pitzer. That'll wrap it up for the Best Campus Sports Show this week. I'm David Rontaler, and here's Kiana Vivella with entertainment.
Hey guys, it's Kiana, and while Halloween may be behind us, there's still a bit more spooky news with some new movies that I'll tell you all about after the break.
Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
What's up, everyone? I'm Kiana Favela, back again to keep you all updated on what's happening in Hollywood. There have been tons of new releases this week, and we've got it all: movies, series, and even games. Now, I know spooky season is behind us, and many people are getting into the Christmas spirit, but Disney already has me looking forward to next Halloween. That's because production on Hocus Pocus 2 is underway, and it'll feature, get this, the original Sanderson sisters, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. The film will follow the iconic witches after they were accidentally woken up by 3 young women. The movie will premiere on Disney Plus next fall, and I am already planning my Sanderson sisters costume for next year. And here's some news that could delay a highly anticipated release. Carol Baskin is suing Netflix for using footage of her in the Tiger King 2 trailer. Baskin claims she did not sign appearance release forms for the second series, and she is requesting all footage of her and her husband be taken out. The season 2 trailer painted Baskin to be a main character, so it'll be interesting to see if Netflix will have to change the saga with only a few days until its release. And here's a question for you. What do lasagna, catnaps, and Chris Pratt have in common? If you guessed Garfield, you're correct. Chris Pratt will be voicing our favorite Monday-hating orange cat, Garfield, in a new animated feature. Pratt took to Instagram to announce the news, posting a picture of Garfield and captioning it, "Well, this Monday doesn't suck." There is no release date yet, and we don't know who else will be in the movie. Pratt announced earlier this year that he will also be voicing Mario in Nintendo's upcoming movie. Wow, Chris Pratt is staying busy these days. Netflix and chill is so last week. This week, it's all about Netflix and Game. The streaming service launched 5 mobile games for all their members. 2 of the 5 games are based on Stranger Things, the hit series created by our very own Dodge College alumna, the Duffer Bros. The games are only available on Android for now, but Netflix says a version for iOS is on the way. And finally, Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson may be Hollywood's newest power couple. The pair first made the news after photographed holding hands on a roller coaster while attending Knott's Scary Farm together. Just a few days later, Kardashian and Davidson were spotted entering the same exclusive social club in New York City. While they did not arrive to the club together, an inside source says the two shared a private rooftop dinner planned by Davidson. I don't know what you guys think, but a private rooftop dinner sounds pretty romantic to me. That's all we have time for today. I'm Kiana Favela. Back to you at the desk.
Dia de los Muertos, also known as the Day of the Dead, originated in Mexico and celebrates the memory of family and friends who have died. The holiday in early November features music, food, and festivities. Some families set up altars or ofrendas, remembering their loved ones. Danny Espiritu, who celebrates Dia de los Muertos, says it allows people to grieve together.
Typically, when we grieve the loss of a loved one, it's something that people are almost like pressured to doing so in private. But I feel like when everybody in the department has an opportunity to come together and share stories and photos of their lost loved ones, it allows us to kind of rely on each other for emotional support in this like really difficult grieving process. So I just think that without Dia de los Muertos, it can be really difficult to accept these like inevitable changes and move on.
The festivities are continuing through this weekend. Locally, there are events tomorrow at the Santa Ana Cemetery, Bowers Museum, and the Viva la Vida Dia de los Muertos Festival.
What a special way to celebrate your loved ones.
I agree. This is also another way to bring families together.
Now before we wrap up, Chapman News would like to remind you that it's that time of the year where time falls back.
So make sure you set your clocks back an hour and enjoy the extra hour of sleep you'll get.
That's it for us this week. Don't miss an episode of Chapman News at www.chapmannews.tv and follow us on social media at Chapman News. I'm Promise Johnson.
And I'm Danielle Burke-North. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
Everywhere you look, there's a place of somebody who needs you. Everywhere you look, when you're lost out there and you're all alone, life is waiting to carry you home.
That was the only, I didn't make it in the credits.
T. Oh.